Well, if we can start with you, Luke, as club captain. We've obviously got a partnership this season with between Ipswich Town and Suffolk Mind. How important do you think it is in football in particular to raise awareness about mental health?
Well, I think football is sort of a beast on its own, really. Ever since I was a young player, sort of being brought up, you have to be mentally strong. Don't act like there's any weakness. Don't be upset. Don't show any emotion. Bounce back from the disappointments. So from a very young age, you're sort of told to suppress all those negative sort of difficult feelings that you find yourself having. And even though you know sort of 20 players in the squad are having the same feelings, no one really brings them up. No one talks about them. No one asks you really how you're feeling, because as well as it being a team game, there's a lot of selfish individuals out there when it comes to a team, and ultimately they look after themselves. So no one really, unless you know them really well, will open up and say, "Oh, how are you doing today?" Not just all right, mate, how are you? That's a throwaway. How are you really? It's like taking the time to just take a few seconds to say, "No, actually, how are you really?" And as soon as that is there, and I think Flynny's made no secret, I've spoken in the past, especially the last 18 months, that it's come to the fore now that it is okay to have a chat. You don't necessarily have to go down the route of seeing psychologists, this, that and the other, but just have a chat with your mate and your family and actually say how you're feeling. And I think people are finding that's definitely helping, because obviously the stats are there that it's one of the biggest killers of men, suicide. So it shows you there is a problem there. And like you say, the partnership can only help highlight that it's okay.
It's doing stuff like this, having a chat, just generally speaking, you guys are people that are in the public eye. You're heroes to lots of kids, lots of people growing up, to lots of grown-ups as well. You know, you're there as almost on a pedestal in a way. So it's a big responsibility, isn't it? But does it feel like a burden in a way, or a big responsibility, or does it feel like it's something that you need to do, you need to talk about?
Well, I think you can only act as it from an individual perspective. Obviously, I'm a different character to say Flynn. That I'm happy to talk to people, and then I sort of open my eyes to see actually I can express my problems out in the open. I don't have to be the one that's up there, like being the example of being strong and hiding feelings and that. So I've made no secret of that, like I said before, over the last 18 months, of how hard I've found sort of the football itself has been very, very difficult to play in. And like you say, we're all heroes to people, but it showed at the start of the season. I made a mistake in the second game and we ended up drawing the game, and I'm gone from hero to zero, and you're always trying to fight back from that. And a big thing is obviously talking about it, but then getting back out there to give it another go, to try and eradicate that negative feeling in your own mind. But yeah, it's like you say, it's one of them that you just want to open up to everyone. And as the captain of the team, I'm always there for the lads. They know that, and whether that's just to say, "Are you all right?" or geeing someone up, or just talking about their life away from football, you can be a hero to zero and then back to a hero again, because the week after I scored in the last minute and everything was forgotten. But the stick you can take in between, because obviously the social media, and you can't. I said to the lads when I first started, you play on a Saturday, the only people who talk about the game are the 5, 6, 10,000 people that are there, and they go home. Whereas now you're on the bus on the way home, you've got Sky Sports News on a loop, you've got Twitter, you've got Instagram, you've got internet, you've got all the radio shows. People that haven't even been to the games will be commenting on performance, the newspaper reports. You can't hide from it. And when you're in that bubble of a team environment, you need lads to bounce off. And I think the boys have found that everyone's fighting their corner really, and that's what we've always tried to have here since I've been at the club. Like it's a team environment. If we win together, we lose together. If we make a mistake, yes, it's an individual, but we all come together and it's pushed to one side and you move on.
Yeah, that's really important, isn't it? And Flynn, you've been pretty open about your ups and downs. I mean, you're only a young player. You've been in the England youth team, the under-19s, haven't you? And been in the first team here at Ipswich Town, and then went out on loan. Tell us a bit about your experience.
Yeah, well, I suppose I was playing 23s, and then I kind of just went, and I saw I was playing under 18s, and I just went straight into the first team. So it was kind of a big step up. And as a youngster, I suppose you don't really feel the pressure. when you're playing and you're playing well, it's good. But when you have a bad game and you've got 20,000 people watching you, it does affect you. And I didn't really know how to deal with that. And like Chamber said about speaking to people and doing all that stuff, it helps massive. It does. I just think when Mick was here, he kind of knew what was going on as well, and that's why obviously he said to go on loan and just play some football really. So yeah, that done me wonders.
And obviously with Luton you got promoted that season, so how did it feel to be part of a successful team?
Oh, it was unbelievable. Yeah, it was something I needed big time. I think where I was constantly going up and down, and yeah, I think that affected me. But going to Luton, it did bring the morale back, and it got my spirits back up. So yeah, it was good.
And Luke's talked about social media. Are you active on social media?
I'm not. I haven't got nothing.
No.
No.
That's obviously it's a deliberate choice, isn't it? Is that
yeah.
why have you chosen to be?
For me personally, I feel like it would. Do you know what? I think everyone's different.
Yeah.
So some people can deal with seeing certain things, and I like to just keep myself to myself. Chamber knows that, didn't you? I like to be away from everything, sort of thing. So I feel like if I had social media, I suppose I don't know. It's a tough one because it's like
you say, everyone's different in there.
Yeah.
There'll be like lads in the squad who would actively be on social media, and there'd be 100 positive comments, and they'd be looking for the two negative, and then all of a sudden, does that affect you as a player? Does that affect your confidence? Does that affect your mood?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like you say, you can either choose to be completely away from it,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, if you're away from it, you still know it's going on.
Yeah.
So it's whether you actively go out hunting for it,
Yeah, that's
and it's
it.
how you can handle it, really.
Do you feel the problem with you guys is that even when you're away from a football pitch, even if you're going into your local garage sort of thing, East Anglian Daily Times or whatever, it's always on the front page for you. Me personally, I don't want to sound awful, but I could just go to my house and just hide if I really wanted to. But for you guys, you're so, especially for yourself, Chamber, so much in the public eye. For yourself, Flynn, you come on a scene like that, didn't you? I could only imagine for someone like yourself, it started. I use this term loosely, sort of thing. You were like a bit of a young gun, and then all of a sudden you're just in the public eye. All of a sudden you're in national tabloids saying Flynn Downes this, Flynn Downes that, and I'm not trying to be funny. You can have one click on your iPhone nowadays, can't you? Put your name in on Google, and you can find out so much about people.
That's it.
And some stuff like that is publicised is awful, and some stuff that shouldn't be online, And I think the problem is with footballers as well, with mental health, is probably when I was a bit younger, I thought the same as well, until my recent experiences that these guys are coming out every Saturday, Tuesday, training during the week and that, and you just expect them to be the same every week, but they are human beings, And they say, well, they earn this, they earn that. I'd do that if I earned that sort of money. Don't work like that. Like Tyson Fury's your prime example of it, He had the world at his feet, beat Klitschko. It just shows that you can have everything you want in this world, and if up here ain't right, then it's not right. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter materialistically what you've got and what you haven't got. Do you know? But yeah, I think that's especially for you guys. I just think it's in your face all the time. I really do, good or bad. At the moment we're flying, but
you can get carried away with that.
Of course you can. And sometimes maybe you don't want to see that stuff. Do you know?
No, there's like I said, there's so many different dynamics. You've got 17-year-olds in our dressing room. You've got 33, 34-year-olds. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's going to process those headlines differently. They're going to look at negative ones. They're going to look at positive ones, and the young players in the dressing room might be thinking, "Yeah, we're going to smash this league easy."
Yeah.
That's our main concern. Like every day in training, we've got to make sure we're on it, and that could come from me, that could come from Flynn, that could come from anyone. They've all got the same amount of respect, and everyone will listen to each other. And that's the dressing we've always tried to achieve here. We've got a very good one at the moment, and everyone's pulling in the right direction. So if someone does take their foot off the gas, there's 25 lads. Don't get carried away with yourself.
It should be,
and we've got everything going for us at the minute, and it's our jobs to keep it going.
Absolutely. And Jordan, you've been quite open in the past about some of the struggles you've had that you've come through now. Have you got any advice for people that are starting to feel?
My main advice is speak. More than anything in the world, I went through 6 months of not speaking to my partner, and I'll be brutally honest, I nearly lost my family, nearly lost my daughter, and I nearly lost my partner. Sorry. Yeah, it's tough, you know, and it's not easy sometimes. Sorry.
That's all right, Jordan. But you came through the other end, and obviously being an Ipswich Town super fan, this season's probably helping you to feel a bit more optimistic about the future.
Saturday on them terraces is bouncing at the moment, you know.
So far, so good, but that comes onto the pitch. I haven't played even when we made the playoffs, there wasn't 20,000 people coming to watch us every game. Tuesday nights, away from home, 3,000, 4,000. If anyone's looking from the outside, they'll be envious. Regardless of the league we're playing in, they'll be wanting to be involved with what's going on here, and everyone. That's why the manager's changing the team here, there and everywhere at the minute, because everyone is chomping at the bit to be having a part of that, because you come off
You want that
after
feeling
a game,
every
you want
week,
that
don't you?
feeling.
Of course.
We're chasing that feeling every Saturday, every Tuesday, we're chasing it. Whereas before, I said before in my interviews in the past 2 years now, when we win, it's not enjoyment, it's relief. And played, like you say, you come through as a kid and you're playing football because you love it, and that's been missing at this football club, rightly or wrongly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's back now, and is that all? Does that kind of almost become a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way? You know, success breeds success. A lot of people say that, don't they? And that we talk about mental health at Suffolk Mind in terms of getting emotional needs met. One of which is achievement, so being stretched and challenged, but achieving things, whether that's tiny little goals like learning how to make a cup of tea, for example, or if it's been a brilliant, learning a cup of tea.
I'm still learning.
Or if it's big things like winning, becoming League One champions and getting promoted again. And another one is respect and status, and that's feeling that your efforts are being rewarded or that are being valued by the communities that you're part of. And obviously you're part of a massive community because you're in the public eye. And when 20,000 people are singing your name or cheering when you've scored a goal or cheering when they thought you'd scored a goal and didn't see that the offside flag was waving, that was me at the weekend.
Me too, so I was on my way up.
I thought it was 5-1, but there we are. Then that's all part of someone's mental health. And as Jordan said, we're all human beings. We've all got brains, so we're all the same. Doesn't matter if you're a rich megastar or if you're struggling to make ends meet. The needs are the same, and as long as you're getting your needs met, then you're going to be okay. And if you're not getting one or more of your needs met, then that's when things start to lead to trouble. Can we come back to social media? I mean, are you on social media at the moment?
I am, yeah.
How do you see it?
What, from a personal point of view?
Yeah, first of all.
It has a positive impact. I'm not going to, because I don't want to come on it and be like, oh, social media's bad, it's bad. And
No,
bad
I don't think it is either, no.
But it has a dark old side to it, and I think the problem is that you can go on social media as anyone, it's not, you haven't, me personally, obviously I'm myself on there, but you can go on there as, tonight I could get home and I could go on Twitter and I could just picking Flynn out, for example, I pretend I'm Flynn Downes on there, I know this, I know that, if I look on Google I pretend I'm him, sort of thing. That's the bad side of it, I see it as a positive thing. All round, I see it as a positive thing. I'll be honest with you, I've been quite open about my mental health. And because of that, I've had people like direct message me and stuff, just because I think the problem is that when you are ready to talk up, or you're maybe ready to talk up, what is very quilted is you don't know the process, and unless you're at a workplace that will guide you through that process, which I weren't at the time, like you don't know that you have to go to your GP because you're feeling a little bit down and you're feeling a little bit, you know what I mean? But yeah, and that's what people have asked me, like, what do I do? How do I go about it? And how do you do it? That's the question I get all the time is how do you do it? And some days, I'll be honest with you, there is the odd day still. Some days I don't do it. You know, I'll be brutally honest with you that I do get up in the morning sometimes, and I do feel rough. But it's just, I don't know. You've got to keep going. You've got to keep believing. I think me personally, I'm just talking for myself here. Determination got me through. And you do go through some rough times, you know. And it is dark. I'll be honest with you. At times it is dark, and I don't want to make things too morbid, but that's the reality of it, you know.
Well, you made a great point earlier about it doesn't matter if we play football and that's a job. Like ultimately, we're normal people. We're sat here now chatting away. Like Flinny's spoke up, I've spoke up. It's lonely. Like it's a lonely time because regardless of how many of your teammates are backing you to the hilt, and my wife and my family and my parents, they're up for the Sunderland game. You feel like the season's over when you make a mistake, and they're like, "Oh, don't worry, my mum's there, and she's just recovered from having cancer." It's like, oh, there's bigger problems in the world, but at that moment in time, when it's just you and your problems, it's like there's nothing you can do unless it either subsides or you talk about it, because it's such a lonely place. And to be a normal person, to be out there in that public eye as well.
I'll be honest, I think the more in the spotlight you are, the harder it is. I mean, when Flynn, it got publicised about yourself, Flynn, a thought went out to you because like I said myself, I'm just like myself at home, and you know, whereas you guys, straight away people have an opinion on you, and that's what I don't like. I don't like the opinion. I hate the stigma around it. I'm really highly strung on mental health. I really am. Some people will like have it as a bit of a joke on social media and stuff like that. To me, it's not a joke. Don't come joke about it with me, because it's not on, as far as I'm concerned. Just because people seem to think just because you've got a broken arm, oh, you're hurt, you know what I mean? But because they don't see it up here, they don't really question it. They always like, you get the whole, if you ever need a chat mate and stuff like that. But then the real people come through for you, do you know? That's the real ones that you really see, that mean something to you, that really there when you need them, sort of thing. But yeah, I think it's probably harder for these guys. I mean, for everyone, it's hard. I'm not sugarcoating anything, do you know? But I think the problem is these guys are expected to perform because they're professional athletes every week in, week out. And just because you then see Flynn, if he was, I don't know, say for personal reasons he's off one week, and then he's seen walking down the street, people think, oh, he's all right, why didn't he play?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They don't even think about Chambo. He's had personal issues to with his mum and stuff like that. And do you know what I mean? Everyone seems like, just because he's had like one bad performance, you know, you get this, you get that, you know what I mean? Yeah. I think people need to wake up a little bit. Yeah. Do you know?
Jermaine Genius once described playing for Newcastle as being in a goldfish bowl. You know, just constantly being under scrutiny and watched, and everything that you do is.
I think to a degree, like down here with Ipswich, it's huge, and until you come and become a part of the club as a player, you don't realise how big a club it is, and we're showing that now. The fan base, the area, the infrastructure, the club now, the sheer support size of it is huge.
Especially this year as well.
Yeah, exactly.
We're in League One, do you know what I mean?
The pressure on us, on the lads signing, and people that aren't used to playing in such a big club and big stadium, it's another thing for them to overcome. But talk about the positives of social media. There are a lot of positives, and there's also the negatives, obviously, of negative press, this, that, and the other. People saying ridiculous things. But I can honestly say, I've never been in the street and met real people, and anyone's ever been negative or said what they may have said on social media. Everyone's always been positive. So if you can separate those two things, you realise that is an absolute load of nonsense, because you can only focus on the real life that's in front of you.
Yeah. Quite often there'll be something that's driving a post that somebody puts up, or a comment that they put up on your post, and it's if they might be just speaking when they're emotionally aroused and not thinking clearly. And you know, we talk about this again at Suffolk Mind, that you can be a genius, but if you're emotionally aroused, then you're functionally stupid. And when have you ever sent a text to someone, or replied to an email when you've been grumpy about it, and then you read it back the next day and think, oh, maybe I misinterpreted what they said, and because you're then calm and you're thinking more rationally and clearly, and that's probably the same with fans. So if fans get, because I can't imagine what it must feel like to be booed or jeered when you've made a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. We're all human beings. We all make mistakes at work, in any life. It's just when I make a mistake, I can usually cover it up, or I don't tell everybody else at Suffolk Mind. But I'm not in the public eye. I'm not being watched by 20,000 people who are then going to react straight away because they've had an emotional response to it. So I mean, that must be quite hard to process for you guys.
It is. Do you know what it is? I think it's like you can't get taught about the pressure that's going to be on you and the pressure you put on yourself. So it's
you
like
don't
when
know, do you? You don't
no,
know
that's it.
Until you do it.
Exactly. So it's like you can't prepare for anything. So that's why when I was going through a tough stage, I'll be honest, I didn't know what was going on. I was just.
You felt like you couldn't run.
Yeah,
I
was like
the fittest guy I've ever met.
I was the fittest geezer ever, and then I was in training. And I was like, I can't run it.
You said it to me, didn't you?
Yeah, and then I knew something was wrong. So that's why I spoke about it, because I suppose it's like getting an injury. If you hurt your ankle, you'd say, do you know what I mean? So that's why I just thought, I'm just gonna say what it is, and then we got it sorted. So that's probably
Who did you speak to first? Do you go to the gaffer? Do you go to your captain? Do you go to one of the other lads?
I did say.
We spoke about it a little bit, didn't we?
Yeah.
We said, best bet is the manager, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and then I just kind of spoke to the manager, the physio, and just said, I ain't feeling good. Like, it is what it is. I don't know what's going on, and then we just got it sorted, really.
Yeah.
But it was the best thing I ever did.
And you've been around a bit longer, Joan, but so I mean, is that something that's changed, you think, in football over the last decade, really? And we had Prince William and Harry talk up about it a lot more, and a lot more people are feeling open about talking and going to their line manager in another workplace, or the gaffer here, or the captain.
Yeah, I think it's changed because of the spotlight on football as an industry. Like I said before, you only had the people going to games, and you had the local newspaper. You can read that to get your insight on the game. But now there's cameras everywhere. There's thousands of reporters, photographers, armchair fans, radio fans. You can't escape it. So, in that respect,
It's everywhere.
the people in charge have to be prepared. I'm surprised there's no more than Flinny coming out and saying, I'm struggling there a bit. Because if there's a slight negative thought, or you're dealing with something in your mind, there's no way you're going to go out on a Saturday and perform at your best. So I think everyone's pretty comfortable in the club and the environment at the moment. That's why people are playing pretty well. But when there becomes an issue in someone's personal life, or there's an issue with football, I don't know, whatever it is, you can tell on a match day. Like Judge, I speak about Alan Judge. He had a difficult summer. There was quite a bit of uncertainty. Then he broke his wrist and he couldn't quite get his flow. In the first couple of games, he come back and he said, "Well, I don't feel like I'm me." Yeah. And now he said that, and you have to exactly. You have to understand that, because his thoughts are on his family life and whatever's required in that, and no one can ever criticise that, because ultimately that's all that matters. Because when we're long gone from Ipswich Town Football Club, who's going to be talking about us and remembering us? No one. You have to make sure you have that base in your life that is going to be a constant there for you, and support. And like I said, I'm trying to build that now, and I'm lucky that I've been through some of the stuff that Flynn's gone through. You've had your ups and downs, and like we said earlier, that reward as a player at the minute, which we're getting on a Saturday night and Tuesday night, and feeling good when we're coming into work. For the last 3 or 4 years, we've been going through a season, working our nuts off for 10, 11 months, getting to the end of the season, finish 12th, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
What have we achieved? Yes, you've achieved mid-table in the Championship, massive achievement, but individually, it's like, didn't really set out to just underachieve and go along with emotions, and then the club and the fans, the empathy and everything. No one was really enjoying it, and sometimes we've had to take a step back where we are now, and we'll come back stronger. The gaffer's laying down a hell of a lot of infrastructure at the club, and that seems to be bearing fruit at the minute. So we're enjoying riding that wave, and long may it continue of being positive.
Good. Last thing, so you touched on it earlier on. Suicide is the biggest killer of men under 45, which is shock. That was a stat that shocked me. I mean, I came and worked at Suffolk Mind about 3 years ago, and I had no idea that was a statistic. What responsibility do you think, or what role can we all play? Suffolk Mind, the Samaritans, the football club, in tackling.
Should be broadcast everywhere, in my opinion, shouldn't it? Yeah. Like you say, if you've got yourself in a job 3 years ago and you're head of a company as big as yours, it's why shouldn't that be on the news all the time? Talk, speak up, talk about your problems. There's people there to help. It's mind blowing, really.
100%. I think your voice is to talk, innit?
Yeah, it is.
For me, anyway, I was going through literally, like I said earlier, I couldn't even run. Do you know what I mean? So that's how much mentally things affect you. So talking about it, it done me absolute wonders.
Simple things, innit? Affects the simple things in life. Do you know, memory. Like, with me personally, it's memory. Obviously, I'm not as highly talented as these boys, you know. But, for me, it's memory. Like, I just couldn't remember anything. I just couldn't function day in, day out. Like, just the simple things in life, you know, like my banking and all to do with money and everything, bills, just general living, do you know? And it blows. I don't think people realise how much it blows your life apart. I really don't.
It takes over, yeah.
Yeah, massively. And like I say, I'm very fortunate. I've had a supportive family. And truthfully, I'm not sure if I'd have been able to do it without them. That's me being hand on heart.
I think that's key, isn't it? Definitely.
Just 100%. As long as you've got stability and determination was my one, and just to speak, keep talking. You know, even if you think like you're chewing someone's ear off a little bit, just keep talking. Do you know? No matter what.
Yeah. And that was one thing I didn't do at the start. I didn't talk to no one. I'd go training. I wouldn't train well, and then I'd go back to my room and sit in there all day until the next day. So, and that.
Flynn's favourite answers. How you doing, Flynn? Yeah, all right. I'm all right.
Yeah, I'm all right.
All right. Yeah, I'm all right.
No.
That's all you got out of him.
I think that is the thing. You do say, don't you?
Yeah, it's like a total
that's
gesture,
what I'm
like you said,
saying.
Jamie.
So I'm all right, mate. Fine.
Yeah.
That's one of the big things I did learn from Mick McCarthy. He was in a position where no one ever would take the time and say, "How are you doing? Are you all right?" And then we had a little thing. I always went and asked him if he was all right whenever I caught up with him. And he's actually like, "Yeah, you know what? I've got this bit going on, but I'm all right." So then, I've sort of, that's developed over the last few years. I've actually asked people, because I saw there was something going on with Flynny, so I knew. But until they are ready to tell you, you can't
do nothing.
do any more than try and be there as the lads. And we've always tried to do that, haven't we? Whenever someone's come into our dressing room, we've tried to make them settle, and lads have signed and they've said it's such an easy place to settle into, because when you are settled mentally and in a happy place,
that's when you play your
you're
best.
gonna play your best football. There's no rocket scientist who needs to tell you that. And luckily we're all right at the minute.